So, morning folks, how you doing? I hope you all entered the competition or whatever. Just a quick reminder, you need to subscribe to the channel to be entered. Now that's the admin out of the way. I hate even asking that, but I have to do it. It's the numbers game, this social media thing. What I wanted to talk about today a bit was just looking after fish, how to handle fish, right? You'll see old photos of me 20 years ago when we were using boga grips, we didn't know any better, we just didn't. And the metal spikes were going through their jaws and we were leaving holes in them and everything, and we just didn't know any better. We do know better today, you can get the flat plastic ones now, and if used correctly, they're okay. You're probably as well off using your hands, right? I mean, the main reason for needing a boga grip, well, there are two main reasons. One is the fish is deeply hooked, right? And you've got to get your pliers out and try and get the hooks out. And two is you're using trebles, right? So there are ways around one of those things, which is to try and use as few trebles as you possibly can. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, but what about my hookup rate? Well, I haven't noticed any massive decline in my hookup rate. I use trebles on my singles on my surface lures. When I get home in a couple of weeks, I'm going to show you a little method to drop an assist off the middle ring of your surface lure, right? So you'll have a double assist hanging there and a single coming off the back. So if they hit it center, they're hooked. If they hit the back, they're hooked. I'm gonna have BKK singles on the site, right? And those are micro barbed, right? So micro barb will hold a bass no problem. Like to my mind, and it's just me, I'm not arguing with anyone or anything like that. We've sometimes it's very, very heavy gear used for quite a small fish, like bass are not big fish, right? 10-pound fish is a huge fish, right? So why do you need tougher gear? Well, usually because one, you're either fishing in a huge big tide, right? Or two, you're fishing over really stinky ground and you got to hold those fish and get them right up, right? But if I'm fishing over clean sand, I'll just let those fish go. Like, why hold them? You're taking an unnecessary risk and you're stressing them out. You're stressing the hell out of the fish, right? And we want to give them as little stress as possible and get them back in the water. Now, sometimes you have to get them out of the water, right? Particularly if you're solo fishing, right? But if there's two of you, you should be able to keep that fish in the water, right? And that'll make a huge difference, right? Now, if you're fishing a rock mark and the waves are banging in at you, that's a completely different story, right? That's totally different scenario to fishing an estuary channel, which is like a river and very serene, and you can be very kind of polite about everything. But if you're fishing the South Wexford coast and there's a big big spring swell coming in on top of you, you're not going to have any chance to be down reviving fish and and that's where rock pools and the like will come in, right? But it's about doing as little damage to the fish as possible with the hooks, right? So singles where you can, right? When you go to release your fish, right, make sure that they're ready to go, right? Like, I know myself from fishing the beaches when it's really on, right? You're getting hit after hit after hit. You're like super excited. And the temptation is to just chuck the fish back in and go for gold again, right? Because you're waiting to hook another one. But you got to take your time and let them get some air through their gills so that they're back and ready to actually swim, and you'll feel it, right? Because when you have them at the start, you'll feel them and they're fairly, very, very sedate, they're barely moving. And then as the oxygen, you rock them backwards and forwards to push the water through their gills, right? So it's like, like so, push water through their gills, through their gill rakers. They start to become oxygenated, a bit like myself in the long COVID tank, right? And they start to kick again. I mean, I wonder are they going to do that with me down in Bandon? And they're going to, oh, he's ready to go. Let him go now. Catch and release. Wouldn't surprise me. Certainly is a lot more kicking me these days, thank God. But yeah, it's just really important. Like, and if you're going to take photos, yeah, photos are great and I love them, right? But keep the fish in the water, right? And then just up, photo, back down again, If you watch the salmon anglers, they're past masters at it. And it might mean kneeling down the water in your waders or whatever, but so what? That's what they're there for. Like, they're not going to last a lifetime either way. Like any hobby, it costs money, and if we don't protect our species, I mean, there's been such a decline in Irish bass stocks either way for whatever reason. Or whether I don't know whether it's a decline or it's a change. To be honest with you, is it that the water temperatures have changed, the wind's direction have changed, and they're coming at different times a year? I'm not certain of that. I'm not going to talk shite about stuff I don't know about, right? I don't know. But I do know that the kind of, Kenny rang me yesterday, Kenny Hartnett from Bass Bandits rang me yesterday just for a chat. And we were talking about the first time I ever brought him bass fishing. And we were using IUX layers. And we were slaughtering 7 and 8 pound fish. And of course, he thought that was the norm. He thought, like, oh, it's going to be like this every time I go, But so it has changed. So the ones we've got to look after. And the bigger they are, the more important they are, right? The bigger they are, they're the big spawning fish. Those are the ones we really need to look after and get back in the water to ensure the next generation, And don't go schoolie bashing. Like, if you're bashing fish this big, like, you're just killing off it. You're going to harm, like, the size of the trebles on some of the lures, right? Now, even with, say, I'm fishing the river system at home, right? And it's a bit, now when I say river system, it's a mile wide, right, at its mouth. It's 3 rivers. So I fish surface poppers. I fish the feed popper in it, especially later in the year. And the water is kind of brackish and murky, right? But they pick up on the vibration, and they're feeding on the upper layer anyway, right? They've pushed all the smelt up to the surface, and you can actually see the activity coming at you. You can see swirls and everything on the surface. And you throw that popper, I've got a single on the back, an assist on the middle, and I never miss a fish. It's just boom, and they're gone. They're on their hooks, right? Now you got to strike it and all the rest. And I found a wholesaler for BKK hooks, so I'm going to have BKKs, which are notoriously dependable, strong, sharp, right? So they're going to do the job. With hard lures, it becomes a bit trickier, right? Because changing the hooks can change the action, right? So you have to be a bit more careful about that. There are some lures, unfortunately, that you just cannot change out because it destroys the action of the lure and essentially makes the lure kind of useless. In that case, I would encourage people to crush down the barbs, because you'll hold out those fish either way. As long as you stay tight into the fish, there's no reason for the barb to pop, for the hook to pop out, right? Bass don't fight dirty, well, actually, that's not essentially true. When I was in Jersey, I met bass that were the dirtiest scrappers ever. They fought like pollock. They went straight for the kelp. Irish bass, on the other hand, tend to fight it out on the surface, right? If you hold them, they'll come up and just thrash around up on the top and, make a few screeching runs, and then you're done. And you can, the most dangerous time to lose a fish is that last couple of meters, right? It's when you've got the draw, right, coming back. So if you've got a shore dump, what we call a shore dump, you got one wave just dumping onto the shore and then drawing back, right? And you've got your fish in that, and you're trying to fight against that. You're going to snap off, or you're going to, the hooks are going to pull, or whatever. So that's the time when you really need to keep your cool and wait until the wave is in your favor, and then just walk backwards with the fish. That's the best way to do it, I find, right? Keep pressure on, have your drag set loose enough that if you need to let it go, the fish can just go again, and you try again the next time, especially if it's a good one, because the weight of that fish, against that pullback, that backwash is incredible, right? So that's it. Yeah, that's all. Just a very quick video this morning, really, just to talk about the care of bass, right, and how to look after them and everything, because it is important, right? I certainly have noticed a huge change in. Well, I didn't fish this autumn because I was sick, and I know there was some really good fishing. I'm kind of a bit disappointed that I missed it, but you got to get on with things, right? The good news is this oxygen therapy is really working for me, and I'm starting to get a bit more life into my old bones. So next autumn we'll be hard at it. But there certainly has been a change in the numbers of fish, and there are all sorts of schools of thought, but I can guarantee you I'm not going to advertise where I fish or anything like that. I'm just not, because there are too many people who will just abuse that, and those fish will be gone, and that'll be that. And I've seen it over and over and over again, to the point of distraction. We just go, oh my God, like, I understand, that the government is under pressure and everything, but we could employ more fisheries officers. We could think about protecting our coasts. It's a huge tourist resource, right? One I hope to cash in on, to be honest. It's a business, right? I'm not, it is a passion, and you can see I love it, right? But I'm also trying to make some money. I'm trying to make a living, earn a living, same as the next fella. So, it's important that we look after what we've got, because we are incredibly blessed in Ireland. Like, in most places, they have to have big high-powered boats to go out and get out far enough to chase those big fish. We don't. Our big fish are inshore, and that's rare, right? Like, if you look at a lot of the huge big fish coming out of southern England, they've been caught in the channel, and they're wreck fish, right? They sit on the wrecks. We don't have those bass. None of our bass sit out in deep water. They all stay in the shallows, which means two things. It makes them vulnerable to devilment, right? Illegal netting and all of that kind of stuff. And B, on a more positive note, it makes them catchable by the angler. So you could find yourself stuck into a record there at the drop of a hat, And, there's a couple of videos on this channel. If you look, there's one there of me holding a fish out the side of the boat, and you can see how long it took, and there was a lot of tide that day. You can see how long it took for that fish to come back to life and get ready to kick, and then off she went and away, happy as Larry. So that's it. Keep them wet, keep them in the water as much as you can. You know, kneel down in the water to take your photos up, drop them back in. Try and change out as many trebles for singles as you possibly can. You know, use high quality singles. I'm away at the minute, obviously getting this treatment. When I get home, I'll have all my fishing knickknacks around me, and I'll be able to show you a way to use some assist hooks, which is like a double single for your middle hook, and that'll make a big difference, right? Yeah, so that's it, folks. Season is, most people think, coming to a close, but I'll fish in December. If we get a mild day in December, I'm on them, because I've hooked some really big fish, particularly around our estuary systems and that, and some of our coastal areas, because we've got a lot of herring, sprat and stuff. So those big fish are in feeding on those. So yeah, other than that, just look after yourselves. Thanks again for all your support and the kind comments. I hope I'm being helpful to the beginner. I hope I'm encouraging people to get into the sport and to be passionate about the fish and taking care of them, and And I have no problem with somebody taking a fish for the table. If somebody wants to kill a fish, I kill the odd fish for the table. They're beautiful to eat. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You know, that's why we have a bag limit, right? You know, absolutely no harm in that, right? But stick to the bag limit and stick to the rules, stick to the size rules, you know. And those big fish, let them go. They taste rotten anyway. If you've ever tried one, they taste like cotton wool. They're 20 years old. They're horrible. They're not, it's not like eating a 4 pound fish, you know, that's really subtle and fresh, and flesh almost melts in your mouth, you know. Just not the same. They're like big old warriors, you know. So yeah, so that's it for this morning, guys. Good luck in the competition. There's still loads of time. I think I said the 19th of December I'd do the draw or whatever. I'm going in now to spend the day working on WordPress. It'll be the death of me at this website, honest to God. I'll be an IT guru by the time I'm finished. But anyway, I don't understand why they can't just make things drag and drop, but apparently they can't. Yeah, so I'm going to leave it there, and have a great day, and we'll talk again soon. All right, mind yourselves. Bye bye.